Power. It's the one thing everyone wants, and the one thing that destroys most who reach for it. In Game of Thrones, power isn't about honor or justice. It's about control. It's not the strongest who win, or even the smartest. It's those who understand how people think, how they feel, and how far they're willing to go when pushed. And no one understood that better than Cersei Lannister, the woman who turned pain into calculation, cruelty into protection, and vengeance into an art form. Cersei doesn't kill for pleasure. She kills for survival. Every betrayal, every act of manipulation, every moment of ruthless silence, it all comes from one belief. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. But what if cruelty isn't the opposite of strategy? What if it's a form of it? The cold logic of someone who refuses to lose again. In this video, we'll explore the psychology of power through Cersei Lannister, how she became one of the most brilliant, feared, and misunderstood minds in fiction. We'll see how her ambition was born not from greed but from pain, and how the world that denied her power created the monster it feared most. Before we begin, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, how far would you go for power? Most people think cruelty and power are opposites, that if you're ruthless you can't be strategic, that morality makes you noble, and kindness earns respect. But that's not how power works. Power doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards control. It doesn't care if you're fair, compassionate, or honest. It only cares if you win. Cersei Lannister understood that early. She grew up watching men like her father and brother command armies and make decisions while she was told to smile, obey, and marry well. In her world, virtue was a weakness disguised as duty, and so she learned a brutal truth. If power won't be given to you, you take it, by any means necessary. Most people hesitate. They want to be loved and feared. They want to stay moral and win. But Cersei knows you can't play both sides. She saw what happened to the merciful, to the naive, to the ones who trusted promises in a game built on betrayal. So she made a choice. If the world demanded a monster, she would become one, but on her own terms. That's the uncomfortable truth about power. It doesn't corrupt people, it reveals them. And when Cersei looked in the mirror, what she saw wasn't evil, it was clarity. Cersei Lannister was born into the richest family in Westeros, but even gold can't buy freedom when you're born a woman in a world built by men. From the moment she was old enough to understand power, she realized she'd never truly have it. She watched her twin brother Jaime train with a sword, while she was told to sit still and smile. She watched her father Tywin command fear and loyalty from every man in the kingdom, but when she tried to speak with that same authority, she was silenced. And that's where her transformation began. Cersei learned to use what the world underestimated, her emotions, her beauty, her intelligence, and turn them into weapons. When her husband, King Robert, ignored her, she didn't cry, she calculated. When the court mocked her, she didn't lash out, she observed. Every humiliation became information. Every slight became leverage. Her life taught her the psychology of survival. People who crave power must hide it until the right moment, because power revealed too soon is power taken away. That's why Cersei's cruelty feels so deliberate. It's not rage, it's response. She punishes betrayal with precision, not passion. She destroys enemies publicly to control the narrative privately. But beneath the armor of manipulation and cruelty lies her greatest weakness and her greatest strength: fear. Fear of being powerless again, fear of losing her children, fear of being forgotten. That fear drives everything. It's what makes her ruthless, but also what makes her human. Because deep down, Cersei isn't driven by evil. She's driven by terror, the kind that only those who've tasted helplessness can understand. She doesn't crave power because she loves control. She craves power because she refuses to ever feel powerless again. Cersei Lannister doesn't rule with swords or soldiers. She rules with perception. Every move she makes is designed to control how others think, feel, and act. Her real battlefield isn't the throne room. It's the human mind. Let's break down the 3 psychological weapons that made her almost untouchable. 1. The illusion of control. Cersei doesn't always have real control, but she makes everyone believe she does. When chaos hits, she stays calm. When enemies plot, she pretends to already know. That calmness isn't confidence, it's strategy. People fear what they don't understand. By appearing unshakable, she plants a seed of uncertainty in everyone around her. If she's not afraid, maybe she knows something we don't. Psychologically, that's called Implied dominance. Control created not by strength but by composure. Cersei's power lies in her ability to make others hesitate, and in power games, hesitation is death. 2. Emotional leverage. Most people see emotion as a weakness. Cersei sees it as leverage. She doesn't suppress her emotions, she studies them. She learns what others feel, mirrors it when needed, and twists it when it benefits her. To her, tears can disarm, love can be a leash, and pity can be poison. Every interaction becomes a psychological transaction. She makes people believe they're acting freely, but in truth she's directing their emotions like a conductor leading an orchestra. That's why she's so effective. She doesn't just manipulate thoughts, she manipulates feelings. 3. Narrative power. Cersei's most dangerous gift is her ability to rewrite the story, to control perception itself. When she destroys her enemies, she doesn't just kill them, she redefines why they died. Her crimes become justice. Her vengeance becomes duty. Her paranoia becomes strategy. This is psychological warfare at its finest, turning sin into symbolism. She knows one unspoken rule. In the game of power, truth matters less than the version people believe first. By controlling the narrative, she doesn't need to convince anyone she's right, only that she's inevitable. These 3 principles, illusion, emotion, and narrative, are what separate the powerful from the powerless. Cersei isn't lucky, she's deliberate. She doesn't rely on morality, she relies on psychology, and that's why she survives longer than almost anyone else. While others fight for thrones, she fights for belief, because whoever controls what people believe already rules them. Cersei Lannister's methods may be ruthless, but behind every ruthless move there's logic, and when you strip away the politics and bloodshed, what remains are universal laws of power, laws that apply to leadership, relationships, negotiation, anywhere humans compete for control. Here are 3 Machiavellian laws we can learn from Cersei's psychology, not to manipulate, but to understand how real influence works. Law 1. Never explain, never justify. Cersei never defends her actions. She doesn't waste energy trying to prove she's right, because explanations weaken authority. Every time you justify yourself, you teach others that your decisions require their approval. Silence, on the other hand, creates mystery, and mystery breeds respect. People may not like your choices, but if you remain calm and consistent, they'll believe you have a reason. That's power, not needing validation. Application. Stop oversharing. Stop over-explaining. When you make a decision, own it with composure. Let people guess your motives. Their imagination will make you seem far stronger than any explanation could. Law 2. Use emotion strategically. Cersei's strength isn't that she hides her emotions, it's that she directs them. Her anger becomes focus. Her fear becomes planning. Her pain becomes control. She understands that emotion can destroy you, feed, or drive you. It's not about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering their direction. Application. Don't react impulsively. When emotion hits, pause. Translate it into action, not outburst. Use it to fuel clarity, not chaos. Because people who master emotion can lead, while those who serve it get led. Law 3. Control the narrative before others. Cersei doesn't wait for people to decide what to think of her. She defines herself first. By doing so, she removes the weapon of gossip, judgment, and speculation. In psychology, this is called framing, shaping how people perceive a situation before they can interpret it themselves. It's not about lying, it's about guiding perception. Application. At work, in relationships, in any social space, be the first to frame the story. Speak your truth clearly, confidently, and consistently, because if you don't define your image, someone else will, and you won't like the version they create. These 3 laws are why Cersei survives longer than her enemies. While others crave approval, she craves results. While others react emotionally, she acts strategically. And while others live by the truth, she lives by perception. The irony? That's not evil, that's awareness. Because in every room, someone is shaping the story. The only question is, will it be you or someone else? When you start to understand Cersei Lannister's psychology, something strange happens. You stop seeing her just as a villain and start seeing a mirror, because her story isn't only about cruelty, it's about clarity. She simply removed the illusions most people live under. The illusion that kindness guarantees safety, that morality guarantees fairness, that playing by the rules guarantees justice. Cersei realized that the world doesn't reward those who deserve it, it rewards those who demand it. And that realization, whether you love her or hate her, is liberating. The transformation begins when you stop confusing softness with goodness and strength with cruelty. You start to see that power isn't about control, it's about composure. You don't need to manipulate others, you just need to stop being manipulated by your own emotions. Once you master that, everything changes. You stop begging for respect and start commanding it. You stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. That's what psychological awareness does. It doesn't make you colder, it makes you clearer. You learn to choose when to show empathy and when to show strategy, when to yield and when to strike, when to walk away, not out of fear, but out of power. Cersei shows us the shadow side of self-preservation, the edge where survival turns into domination, and by seeing that clearly, you gain the power she never had, the ability to rule your world without losing your humanity. That's the real transformation. Not becoming like Cersei, but understanding her enough to never be broken by the same forces that built her. Cersei Lannister ruled through fear, manipulation, and control. But her story was never just about cruelty. It was about what power does to the human mind. She spent her life climbing toward the throne, believing that once she had it, she'd finally be free. But here's the tragedy. The higher she climbed, the smaller her world became. Every victory made her more isolated. Every act of control made her more trapped. Because power built on fear can't give peace. It only demands more control to survive. And that's the paradox of power. The moment you get everything you wanted, you start fearing what it will cost to keep it. Cersei wasn't evil. She was aware. She saw the game clearly. She knew mercy was weakness in a world that punishes hesitation. And yet, her genius became her curse. She won the Game of Thrones, but lost herself in the process. So maybe the real question isn't how far she went for power. It's how far you would go. Would you sacrifice your morality for ambition, your empathy for control, your peace for respect? Because power, in its purest form, always asks for something in return. And not everyone survives the trade, so remember, never explain, never justify. Use emotion strategically, control the narrative, or be consumed by it. Now I want to hear from you. Was Cersei Lannister truly evil, or just a survivor in a world that never forgave ambition? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading every one of them. And if this made you think differently about power, subscribe, because in the next episode, we'll climb the ladder of chaos itself with Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, the man who turned manipulation into an art form. Until then, remember, power doesn't corrupt, it reveals, and what it reveals is everything you try to hide. Stay strategic, stay aware, stay powerful.